Hey guys, and welcome to the Surge Growth Partner Podcast. I'm excited to have our guest on today, Corey White. We'll be diving into his story, what his company Cyvatar specializes in, and some engaging insights into the cybersecurity industry. So I'll go ahead and kick it off to you, Corey. Please introduce yourself and tell a quick snippet of your story and maybe your background prior to Cyvatar.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. This is super exciting to be on this on a hot Thursday afternoon. I'm sitting outside out of my house, and my kids kicked me out, so I got to jump onto my podcast outside. Anyway, so Cybertar, like I've been in the cybersecurity industry for the last 28 years. I started in 1995, so I've been around a lot. I've seen a lot of things, and so when you have that level of experience and you've done some of the largest incidents in the world and run just hundreds of penetration testing and security assessments and installed again hundreds of products over the years, you have a little bit of perspective. And so yeah, I could go and build a company and do the same thing that everyone else is doing, or I can reverse engineer cybersecurity and like, okay, if these are the things that are happening, if these are the ways that companies are getting hacked into, let me build these preventative controls to stop those things. So we built a company that is proactive prevention first to stop some of these hacks that are happening. So you take business email compromise or ransomware or some of these exploiting of vulnerabilities that are happening. What's the root cause? Why is that happening? So we built preventative measures and automated that at scale to be able to stop these hacks from happening. So that's just the start of it. There's so much more we can go into, but that's what motivated me to really build this company and change the world and make it better, because it's getting worse from a cybersecurity perspective for sure.
Definitely, yeah, and I kind of want to maybe piggyback off that. Like, what was it about cybersecurity that kind of like sparked your initial interest? What was it that got you into this industry? What was that initial kind of spark moment for you?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, but if you go back to 1995, let me give you perspective. That's when I got out of college, and my first job was literally working for Microsoft, supporting Windows 95, Internet Explorer 1.0, Exchange 1.0, and so the mindset was like, hey, I'm gonna be a cybersecurity person. The phrase had not even been created. Okay. And so I just knew I like computers. I just knew I like technology. And so when I started, after I did that for about 8 months, got bored, been doing the support position, I jumped into consulting. I needed something dynamic. So my job was literally traveling around the United States, connecting some of the largest companies to the internet and building their perimeter networks. And so when you connect them to the internet, I never forget one of my first early customers was a global construction company. I connected them to the internet. And then I was like, you might need one of these new firewall things because we're seeing some weird things happening. And so I put in one of the first Cisco Pix firewalls back in the late 90s. And so other gigs I did, I was honored to work on a consulting gauge for Intuit and help build a TurboTax network down in San Diego. Back in 1997, they would do tax returns through the internet for the first time ever. And I'm a techie. It's like, yeah, I could dial up and do my tax returns. So that's what the world was like. And so I just kind of fell into cybersecurity, and I'm so grateful to be in it. It's been a great career.
Yeah, it must be. I was talking with somebody else the other day and was talking about how it must be crazy for people who really saw the beginning of the internet and everything that kind of happened with the inception of the .com, and then boom, everything that happened following that. Like, I'm coming into the industry now, just seeing everything at face value, and I've only been inside the industry for the past year, but I'm up to date with everything. So I always find it fascinating to think that people have kind of seen the evolution of cybersecurity. It must be a trip. It must be crazy to really think that this is where we're evolving towards.
Yeah.
But I did have a question. Obviously being inside the industry for so long and kind of having all that experience, what do you think some of the most impactful trends are right now that are happening inside the cybersecurity industry? Or what do you maybe see right now that's going on, or where are the winds blowing?
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating. What my company does is give you a perspective. We focus on securing small to medium-sized businesses. And when you think about small to medium-sized businesses, people think, oh, okay, why are they going to attack them? We should be going after MGM Grand or whatever. But they're the biggest target. And what most small to medium sized businesses don't initially think about, like, hey, we're a manufacturing company, or we're a plumbing company, or electric company, or whatever. They don't think that a hacker would attack them. Well, you got to look at what attacks are happening today. The number one attack vector today is a business email compromise. So if I wanted to trick this, literally there's some pretty large, manufacturing companies or plumbing companies that don't have any security at all. They don't have a security team. So if I'm a hacker and I want to trick them into transferring money into my account instead of paying whoever they were trying to pay, then I know that I can easily look up on the LinkedIn and see who their finance or HR person is, send them a phishing email, go look in the news and figure out, okay, who they just build a new contract with? Did they just get a new deal with X company? Then there's so much information out there I can use. It's called open source intelligence, OSINT. I can go and look and figure out this information. I can use that against them in a spear phishing attack. And spear phishing is targeted, right? A spear phishing attack. And then I know that finance person is going to most likely click this link because they're expecting to make a payment to this company that they just won a new deal with. And it even gets a little bit deeper. There's one layer below that. I could just hack into your email. If you're not using multi-factor or two-factor authentication, I could easily get into your email, send you a link, and you click into it and think you're logging into, Microsoft 365 or G Suite, but actually you're logging into my website. I save your password. So I'll save your password, and then I got access into your email. Then I can log in, and I'll say, okay, looks like this payment is due tomorrow, but you don't have wire transfer information. I just got to say, hey, we just updated our wire transfer information. Please use this bank. And then they're expecting it. No reason to suspect differently. Boom. I just got a wire transfer for $100,000. Not a complicated hack. And these small companies have basically no security in place. So that's what's happening. And so when you think about a trend of, it used to be, okay, we're going to hack into large companies and hack into these bigger targets. Those companies have security teams. They've got all kind of threat intelligence. They've got a lot of in place. But the 99% of all businesses out there are small to medium-sized businesses. They got almost nothing in place. So it's easy target, easy money for the hackers.
No, it's a great point. And I was just talking with a gentleman in the previous episode. We were both kind of conversing about the fact that, it's so easy to have that mindset as a small business. Oh, like, yeah, no, who's gonna want to attack me? You know what? They're gonna go after the big fish,
Yeah.
And oftentimes, it's a numbers game for these hackers too, right? Because if they can send out all these messages to these small, medium-sized businesses, all they need, they know that, if I can send out X amount of messages, I'm going to get a 1% click rate, and so it's just a numbers game for them too. And so for those small, medium-sized businesses, it's even more important for them to be secure as well. So I think that's a great point that you bring up. And I know you were diving into some of your company offering already. Is there anything else that you wanted to add that you think, companies get the most value from when they work with your company?
Well, it's actually really simple. We have a mantra. We don't sell things that our customers don't need. So if they come to us and they say, hey, we have fully implemented multi-factor authentication, we may ask a few questions to make sure it's done properly. But if they've done that, all right, cool. Tell me what you don't have. For instance, I was talking to a company yesterday and they said, we don't do any patching at all and we need help there. That's their biggest gap. And so we fill the gaps that the company needs. Some of these cybersecurity companies will try to force the customer into buying what they're selling. What we've built here is we have a comprehensive suite of solutions using enterprise grade tools, and our team is actually coming in and implementing and managing it. So let me take a step back. I want the audience to understand. If you think about, if I'm a small, medium-sized business, most of them aren't going to hire a VP of HR and do payroll and HR internally. They're going to outsource it. They can use, your Rippling, your Gusto, Trinet, so many places they'll do that. Well, same thing with cybersecurity. Instead of saying I'm going to hire a CISO and a security team for my 100-person company, it doesn't make economic sense to do that. What you would do is you still need security. You outsource that to Cyvatar, and we are able to do full vulnerability management, endpoint protection, multi-factor, et cetera. And those are the core pillars that you need to have in place to secure a company.
I agree. Definitely, definitely. And that's definitely commendable that you guys are going that route as well, where you're not, I've seen it before when they try to push services onto companies, right? And I
Yeah,
think that's the
yeah,
wrong approach when you are building a business and you want to obviously keep that reputation. I think it's very important to say, what do you need as a company, right? What there's so
hmm,
many solutions that you can choose from, right? But I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to keep you protected at your budget. So I think that that's
yes.
super important as well. And going off of that, I'm curious in terms of any type of stories that kind of come to mind of a success story that you've maybe had with one of your best clients that you can maybe bring up. Like you don't have to mention any names, but if there's anything that maybe stands out in particular to you.
Yeah, obviously I won't mention any names, but I'll just talk generically. It's a mindset change that I think we all have to think about, because in cybersecurity we have, I don't know if you ever heard of the phrase detect and respond, managed detection and response, or
Mhm.
endpoint detection response. So let's just put this in the physical world and make it into a reality for an example. So imagine if you say, I'm going to use detect and response as a strategy in my life. Okay, so for my car, when I drive somewhere and park, I'm not gonna close the door and lock the doors and make sure my windows are up. I'm gonna leave it open, but I'm gonna have a little detection, a little camera that detect when someone jumps in my driver's seat, and they'll send me an alert, via email or a text, and I'll detect that someone's trying and jumped in my front seat of my car and trying to steal my car. Okay. You think about that, that sounds ridiculous. So let's translate that into cybersecurity. So typically people do that around their endpoints, their computers. So like, I'm not going to block the execution of ransomware and all these malware and malicious tools. I'm just going to monitor and have someone looking at it 24/7. And the minute someone tries to drop some tools on there, I'm going to get an alert. And then I get the alert, and then say if that's 1 a.m., then, and again, if anyone has any experience being a penetration tester or a white hat hacker, by the time you get the alert and you've escalated, privileges and have admin potentially on that system, and you may have, stolen credentials or, stolen information already, is you're not going to be able to fix it in time. But then think of it like this: if you got 100 systems and I automate it and I, put alerts on, at least 20 systems, you're going after all of them at the same time, you're never going to be able to stop that. So at the end of the day, what if you just blocked the malware and tools from being dropped? And that's not that hard to do. And again, I'll give you an old school analogy that some folks that have been around can relate to. I say early 2000s, intrusion detection systems came out for your network perimeter. So you could see if someone's trying to get into your network or if they've gotten in. And so you could monitor all these intrusions. And then the industry realized, it's not enough. Let's come out with intrusion prevention systems. And so we came out with IPS. And so once those came out, then people say, oh, I'm going to get that. And they rolled them out. Nobody configured them to prevent. Because you had to go through a tuning process. It's a little extra work, but you had to go through a tuning process to actually block some of these attacks. And so no one did it. But again, that's just like saying, I'm going to secure my house. I'm going to buy the best cloud manageable door lock I can get. I'm not going to lock the door though. I'm just going to, install it and monitor, right? So
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. That's why the number of attacks have grown 30% year over year. Successful attacks have grown that much, and they're continuing to increase. And last thing I'll share, and I'll let you jump in, is you sprinkle in AI on top of that. So it used to be the phishing emails and the attacks had the poorly written emails. You're like, oh, okay, that's not really, who I thought it was. Now they're well written and written by AI. And so there's no reason to think twice. If you recognize the name, oh, you got an email from Corey White. Okay, I was expecting him to send me an email. And it's well written. Why would you think different? So it's gotten worse.
Yeah, it's almost a AI is like a double edged sword, right? Because it obviously can help in prevention as well, and there's good AI softwares that are coming out to help in defense. But on the flip side of the coin, right, you have now these hackers that are able to use this technology to be even more potent with how they're able to exploit vulnerabilities, right? And so
Yeah.
it's like I said, it's a double edged sword.
Well,
Um,
we're pretty far behind. Most, as a lot of cybersecurity companies may have some AI features, but the end customers aren't even using it. So you got the hackers using it, and then we're still just monitoring and not even using AI to stop these attacks in most cases. So we're behind.
yeah, that's a good point. Um, well, I am curious as to kind of some of the main challenges that your clients are really facing before they start working with you, and how do you help them overcome those?
Yeah, it's actually quite concerning. When I really started focusing on small to medium sized businesses about 4 years ago when I started this company, I knew there was tons of opportunity out there. But again, just giving you guys stats, 99% of all businesses are small to medium sized businesses. So it's a large chunk of it. And when you think about the way we as a society make money, it is usually selling to the Fortune 1000, or maybe 2000 sometimes. But at the end of the day, large cybersecurity companies, they don't make their products or even try to even sell to the small to medium size. So just say if you're below 100 or 300 employees, they won't even talk to you. They don't respond to your inquiry because again, a deal for with 100 employees, it just doesn't move the needle enough for them. So you can't have enterprise grade cybersecurity products if you're a small company. You're stuck using some of these legacy AV vendors. You're stuck using some of the lower end products. And so as a result of that, to our point earlier, you have the hackers that are using AI. Okay. And then the small companies, they can't even get access. That's a big problem. Access. They don't have access to those enterprise products. So what we've done here is when you think about securing that 99%, we have relationships with all of these enterprise companies. We make it affordable for a company that has 10 employees or 25 employees because the fact of the matter is you're not going to stop a sophisticated threat actor using AI in an automated fashion without having enterprise grade tools. So we brought enterprise grade tools and made them available, and we implement and manage it and make it completely turnkey for those SMBs so they can secure themselves. And if that's not done across the board, the small and medium sized businesses will never catch up. So we're a purpose driven organization. Let's help and save some of these small and medium sized businesses from the way the economic system is set up.
Definitely, yeah. No, it's a great way to put it, and especially the fact that you're able to bring those enterprise type of tools to the small medium sized business. I'm sure they can extract a lot of value from that as well.
Hmm.
Um, I do kind of want to segue a little bit and
Yeah.
talk about your career as a founder and being a fellow founder as well of my own company. I am curious to hear some of the biggest challenges that you've had to maybe deal with building your own company, and maybe some advice that you would help spread to other people who are building their own companies and are want to be CEOs.
Yeah, I love that. And I'll frame it this way. When you're a founder, I don't think the battle is within your company or what you're doing. The battle is always inside of you.
Mm.
It's a mindset. Okay. And so and I've heard a bunch of stats. I think it's less than 2% of people out there are real entrepreneurs and founders, and there's nothing wrong if you're not. I mean, um, I love when I talk to another entrepreneur and they're like, "So you're crazy like me?" It's like a known thing. You got to be a little
Yep.
bit crazy,
Yep.
and I was reading another a book that was describing founders and entrepreneurs. They got to be overconfident. Yeah, and they got to believe when everyone else doesn't believe. I mean, I know everybody talks about Elon Musk, but you take to think, all right, I'm gonna go build a brand new car company. No one else has done anything close to this, and change the way we look at electric vehicles. I mean, he's changed so much, but you look at him like, wow, he's a little crazy. Is it good crazy or bad crazy? That's debatable. But at the end of the day, that's a bit of a founder mentality. Another one of my favorite quotes I just shared with my team is I'm a big Prince fan. So Prince was speaking at the 2000 Soul Train Awards, and he says, um, if you think about it, when you're living life, and he was applying this to the music industry, but it applies universally. When you go and you're working for someone else and you're working within the constructs that other people have built, then you're playing their game and working within their system. So if they've created the system and created the rules, then you got to play by those rules. And then when you get some level of success, people are happy and they say congratulations, or you come on stage and you win the award. You like, thank God, wow, I won an award, because you're an exception. You won at someone else's game. But if you're a founder, you're looking at the world and you're thinking at life, you're like, what if I play my game and I create the rules? And so success becomes easier playing your own game and creating the rules and putting your own people in places. So that's really what I think people have to embrace, and not be afraid of, wow, I'm going to take this leap and go and work for myself. But you're playing your own game. Playing your own game is the most powerful thing you can do, and it's liberating. You don't have to worry about, oh, what does my boss think about, what do all these people think? It's like you against you. And so I think that's the mentality people have to have.
Yeah, man, you put that perfectly. I couldn't agree more. I think the first point that you said about kind of like the mindset and how you
Mm-hmm.
have to be, I think everything when it comes down to business is 80% mindset and 20% skills, right? Like
Yeah.
you can develop skills along the way, and that you're able to use. But the biggest factor that you need when you are a founder and you're trying to start a business is that you need that belief, right? That
Mm-hmm.
crazy belief, like you were talking, almost in some ways you can kind of point to being a little delusional, right? And
Yeah.
I think that it's that delusion though that people have, and as long as you back it with your work and your output, that's what's going to get you to the level that you need to be. And it's not just having those big dreams, but it's willing to put in the building blocks that are necessary in order to achieve those things. And so yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just to tap onto that, there's a lot of science behind this. A few things. One of my favorite quotes, and that's on the back of our T-shirts for our company this year. Every year we have a new T-shirt, and it has a new kind of theme for the year. But uh, Nelson Mandela said, everything is impossible until someone does it. So you
yeah,
think about what he went through with apartheid and the years that he spent in jail, and then to come out and be president. I think anyone would say that's pretty impossible. You're not going to change, abolish apartheid and also become president of that same country. But he did it. So
yeah.
everything's impossible until someone does it, and that goes back to the 4 minute mile. There's so much science around
That's what I
that.
was going to bring
Uh,
up.
yeah, exactly. And there's great books around it. I'm a big fan of Stephen Kotler. He writes books about this, and so once you understand the science of impossible, then it's not really impossible. And one other book, Mindset by Carol Dweck, absolutely amazing. You got to know growth
Cool.
mindset, and that's what you have to have as a founder.
Yeah, you got to be willing to take all the punches, and just knowing that even when things are going bad for you,
Yeah,
there will be a time where you'll learn from something from that and be able to apply those lessons future on. And I think it's important to take a zoom out approach too, where it's
mm-hmm.
even if you are making mistakes now, it's like, well, compare yourself from 1 year ago to you are today. And
Yeah,
so I think
yeah,
that's a great, like, the entrepreneur that you are today. In a year, you're gonna look back and you're like, man, I used to be like think about the entrepreneur I am now
yeah,
next year. Like that's how I
yeah.
kind of always view learning and striving to be better. So I think that that's coincides with your point of view as well. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always like you said, when you meet another founder, you're like, okay, you're as crazy as I am. It's a great way to put it.
Exactly.
Um, I do have some questions around some of the trying to tie in some of the challenge. I'm curious as to some of the sales and marketing challenges that you face as a cybersecurity company. And if you can maybe touch on those and maybe some things that you found to be helpful for you guys.
Yeah, I'll start by saying I haven't found that silver bullet yet. It doesn't mean I'm gonna stop trying. It just, I wish I could sit and say, "Oh, you just gotta do this and it work." It changes. it literally changes, I want to say, every 3 to 6 months. Because what used to work, I remember, I don't know, many years ago, all right, get you an outbound sales team and call out. And that does work for some people. And then they just call and their business grows. Other people, email blasts. It used to work. Doesn't work anymore. And so you got to figure out what that right formula is for your type of business. And it's interesting when you think about what we do here. I have customers when they find us and then they become customers and literally yelling at me and one, jokingly cussing at me, Corey, why the hell was it so hard to find you? And again, we do podcasts, we do all kind of stuff, but it's crowded out there in the cybersecurity space. Like for instance, one of my existing customers, buddy of mine, he gives me crap all the time because he was trying to win a new deal and he had to build security policies. Security policies are free in our freemium platform. So you sign up for free, you get security policies. He was like, Corey, it cost me $10,000 to have somebody create security policies, and became a customer. Like, it's already there. I'm like, sorry, I'm trying to get the word out, but that's just a challenge. Same thing. We see some companies that spend a lot of money on pen testing. You become a Cyvatar customer, the pen test is free. It's just built in. And there's logic behind this, because let me just walk you through this, and this is not even technical. So I've run pen test teams for the last 20 plus years. So you do a penetration test, you find all the vulnerabilities, and you present it back to the company. And there's criticals, high, medium, and low. And they're like, okay, we're going to start fixing these vulnerabilities. And then they fix it, and they come back in a month or two, and then you got to rerun the test. So you're selling them the one statement of work for the initial pen test, and then you got to sell them a bucket hours to come back and do a retest and verify they fixed it. Okay. Well, here's the problem with that. Last year alone, there were 25,000 new vulnerabilities that came out. You think about all companies today, they have cloud environments, and they're dynamic. So if I did a pen test today, and 25,000 vulnerabilities come out every single year, that's 68 per day, then you got a bunch of new vulnerabilities, your environment changed, the next day is kind of obsolete. Okay. And so it doesn't make sense to do a once a year pen test. So what we do is like, let's reverse engineer this. Okay, we're going to continually scan, patch, and remediate your internal, external, and cloud environments on a continuous basis. All the flies around me on a continuous basis. And so once we do that, and we get you remediated and clean into a good state, then we'll do a pen test. And your pen test is going to be clean. So you see how we just flipped that?
Yeah.
Instead of doing a pen test when you've got nothing in place, you're going to find some stuff. Let's just fix everything, then do a pen test, then it's clean, and you can check a box and show whatever company is asking for a yearly pen test to meet some compliance requirement.
Yeah, no, and that's neat that you guys. I don't know if I haven't. I don't think I've talked to a company that includes the pen testing with the service as well. So that's definitely another value add. That
I mean, think of it like this. All right, if you wanted to secure your home, but you knew your doors were easily broken into, windows were barely closing, so we come in, we fix everything in your house, and then we do an assessment and it's clean. You're like, checkbox, cool. It's just that simple.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Well, cool, man. I got maybe one more question for you, and it's just looking back at your career, what would you say are the most two? We'll say we'll go three. Well, three most important things that you've learned and that you would like to share.
Oh, got to narrow it down to three. Okay. Over my career, I think number one is never ever stop. Okay. Because ultimately what people do is there's a few good quotes around this, but most people give up right before that breakthrough. Okay. And so never give up. If you know you have a good idea or a good thing, you keep going. And number two ties into this one is that, and you mentioned it earlier, when you keep going and you get through to the other side, you hear the phrase walk through the valley of the shadow of death. It never says, hey, go and hang out forever in the valley of the shadow of death. Like who does that? Yeah. You get through it. You get to the other side. And then what I also learned on top of that, which, it could be, two or three, I'll keep kind of going in the sequence here, is that when you get through something, you're like, damn, that was hard. Wow. How to get through that? And you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm ready. I know everything. Now I'm good to go. Guess what? And I call it literally the punch in the face. I don't like hanging out with people that haven't gotten punched in the face and knocked down and they're on the ground and then they got to get up because the magic is in getting up.
Yep.
That's the magic. And so the next time Mike Tyson comes around, then you're able to say, all right, Mike, I took your first blow. I'm getting up. I'm ready to go again. And you're not afraid anymore. And I
Yeah.
know I probably didn't do 1, 2, or 3, but I said all this ultimately
Smart.
leads up to you not being afraid. And as you grow and challenge yourself and go through more shit, and it's always going to come, then ultimately it just gets easier. You're just not afraid. You're like, I've been through this before.
Yeah, man, 100%. Like that. That's a great ending point. Is the fact of just not being afraid of the failure, right? Like that.
Right.
It's so true because I think everyone can apply it where it's the faster you fail, the quicker you learn, right? And if you're always kind of stuck in that sense of analysis paralysis, or
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to make an action because you're scared of this, or you're scared of starting this, or whatever it may be, I think it's important to kind of have that mindset where it's like, if I fail, I'm only going to learn from it, and then I'm going to learn how to not do it, and then each
Yeah.
failure, like you said, brings you closer to where you need to be. So I think that that's some great
It's
advice.
we cannot nail that home enough. I know you said it, I said it, but people have to realize that you could do the old Thomas Edison thing, like it took him 1,000 times to get the light bulb to work and all that. But if he stopped after 10, like we see sitting in the dark right now potentially. But at the end of the day, that's how you get there. It's a process of failure, and that's it.
Amen. That is 100% the truth. What was the reason that you came? How did you come up with Cyvatar? Because we were talking about it, and I wanted to maybe touch on it. What was it that sparked that?
Yeah, yeah. It is interesting. After being in the industry at the time, for 24 years, um, you reach certain point, you realize what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm making money, but am I actually making a difference? Because when, hopefully most people get there, but it's not about the money. I know a bunch of people with a ton of money. It's negotiable whether they're happy or not, right? And so when you realize that money, and once you got to get comfortable, a level of comfort, and this all kind of stays around there. And there's a certain level that you get where you're comfortable, but beyond that, the extra money doesn't necessarily bring you happiness. And so it's very important to have a purpose-driven life. And so when I would bring people on at the last startup I was on, and people ask, well, what's it like working there? It's a brand new company. What's it like? I said, at the end of the day, it is what you make it, because we're small. At the time we were, less than 10 people or whatever. Every person that comes on makes a difference. And it goes back to the rocking chair. Okay. When you're in, I'm a bit of a biohacker. So when I'm 150 years old and my great, 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 I don't know how many greats I have to add into that, grandchildren are like, tell me a story. And I tell the story when I was 40 years old, I was making a lot of money. I had twin daughters that were a few months old. I could have stayed working at that company, or I could have taken a jump and gone and worked at it and worked at a startup and later built my own. But it's a choice that I think everyone has to make about their comfort. And it wasn't about making a lot of money. It wasn't about, succeeding or failing. It was about taking a chance. And so it's about that jump. And so I want my grandchildren to all take that jump. A lot of people live life and they never ever jump. And so that's what motivated me to build this startup and continue being an entrepreneur even after this. Is I'm always going to jump. There's always another level, and then you also have to couple that with purpose. You got to have purpose. And when we talk about securing the 99% of small businesses, when large cybersecurity companies don't even sell to them, I'm gonna make a way for that to happen and make it better for them. That's it.
Hey, man, that is you hit the nail on the head in every regard, man. But it's been awesome, and it's been awesome talking with you. You got a lot of wisdom. You have that sage wisdom, so definitely is very valuable advice you give, and I hope people take that to heart and implement some of those things that you talk about as well. Um, One last thing, man. Where can people find you? What's a good way to maybe contact you? And if someone is maybe interested in working with you as well, what would be a good first step for them?
Yeah, a few things. Go to our website, cyvatar.ai, cyvatar.ai. Sign up for free. Get your free external scans, your free policies, your free gap analysis. Please don't pay anybody for that stuff. You can sign up and get it for free on our platform. And then once you do the gap analysis, then you can choose what solutions you want. If you want to speak to us live, you can hit the contact us form on the website, and of course we're on all social media. You can definitely hit me up on LinkedIn, send me a direct LinkedIn message. I actually still reply back to LinkedIn messages. If you have questions or comments, and just engage with us. We'd love to continue the conversation, and it's an honor to be able to have this opportunity to have this business and help small to medium sized businesses.
Thank you again, man. Really appreciate you for coming on. And everyone, please go check him out. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, Corey. Thanks so
All
much.
right, thank you. Bye.